Hey guys, welcome to this Instagram special. This is a supplemental video for my video about how to develop mathematical intuition on YouTube. If you haven't watched a real YouTube video yet, then probably this won't make too much sense for you, so you might want to check it out first. So for those who have watched my YouTube video, I'm going to answer the question about how to calculate the total length of all the subway systems in London, the so-called Tube. So this is an interview question that I was asked by Dee Shaw, I think probably in the first or second round. I'm slightly simplifying the question here. The real question was a little bit more difficult. We're going to get to that in a moment. But yeah, essentially the idea is just that they knew that I had been to London only once in my life for like 2 days or so, and I wasn't really familiar with the city. So they just asked me like, how would I make the best estimate for the total length of all the tunnels of the underground system? And yeah, this is what I came up with. So this is the real answer that I came up during the interview. Obviously, like, if I had more time to think about it, I would have probably made some better estimate. But the idea is roughly the following. So I don't really know London very well, but I know my hometown of Zagreb quite well, where I grew up. So Zagreb has roughly 800,000 people, London 9 million, and I know that Zagreb has roughly 100 kilometers of railway in total. Now Zagreb doesn't actually have an underground system because, well, it costs quite a lot of money, but the comparison is still there. And I'm trying to estimate how long the tunnels are in London in total. Now, Zagreb and London, in terms of population density, they're probably quite similar. In the city center, some people live, in bigger buildings, and in the suburbs, it's like, single family homes. So I just assume that the total population of both cities is proportional to their size, so the area. That's the circles that you can see over here. Now, how do we make this estimate? Well, first of all, let's start with the 100 kilometers that I have in Zagreb. And we could just make the very blind and simple assumption that the total length of the, public transport system in this case is proportional to the overall population. Because, if there are more people, and obviously there needs to be more distance for that they can travel in total. So we have the 100 kilometers, and let's just multiply this by the ratio of the population. So 9 million divided by, 800,000. And that gives us a total length of roughly 1,125. Now, if you don't have a calculator, obviously you have to kind of estimate it, because during the interview, you obviously can't have a calculator. But I mean, in the end of the day, this doesn't have to be very accurate. Now, the next adjustment I would make is related to the size of the cities that I showed at the very beginning. So my assumption is that the surface area of these circles, and I'm approximating both cities as circles here, the area is proportional to the population. So very simple, the area of a circle is radius squared times pi. So my assumption is that this factor adjusts for the total travel distance. Because, people, if they live in the suburbs, they have to get to the city center. So people in London have to travel a bit further. And the distance that they have to travel further is roughly proportional to the radius of the city, which is proportional to the square root of the population. So this is the adjustment over here. People in London have to travel a bit more. So we would end up with 3,800 kilometers of tunnels in total. Now, a few more adjustments obviously have to be made, because otherwise this would be completely wrong. And the estimate that I made was I just compared the train sizes. So I know how big a tram is in Zagreb, and I've seen the Tube in London. These are like actual proper trains, and I just estimated that they can fit probably 4 times as many people in there. So you don't need that many more trains in total. So I adjust for 1/4. This is obviously a rough guess, but again, all of this is about guesswork, not exact calculations. And this brings down the total length of the tunnel to 950 kilometers. And now the last thing is, the estimate was supposed to be for just the underground part, not the overground part. And then my guess was just, having seen the city center of London and knowing that there's a lot of suburbs, that probably half of the total length of the tracks is underground and the rest overground. So we divide this by 2 and end up with roughly 475 kilometers. And that was my estimate for how long the tunnels are in total. Now, if you actually Google this, or let me have a quick look, London Underground tunnel length, you can see this is 250 miles, which converts to 400 kilometers. So I got it actually quite accurately well. So I was just off by like 75 kilometers or so, which is not a bad estimate given that I only had like a few seconds, maybe a minute in total on the phone talking to them. But yeah, the real question that they actually asked me, and if you want to hear the bit more advanced version, you can listen to me. they actually didn't just ask me for making an estimate, they asked me for getting a 90% confidence interval. So like a minimum and maximum length of these tunnels, where I'm 90% certain that the actual number is somewhere between those two numbers. So what does this mean? Let's just get started with some random numbers. So, I mean, surely the tunnels are longer than 1 kilometer, and surely they are shorter than 10,000 kilometers. So we could already say that this is like a very bad 90% confidence interval. Well, I mean, it's kind of 100% confidence intervals, but we can get started from that and just try to narrow it down as much as possible, and until we are still 90% certain that this is right. So you have to take into account the errors here. So you would do the same calculation that I did before. Just go back here. And now the only thing that I would adjust for is, the upper and lower error bound probably. So I would just say, okay, well, the total population, the ratio might be a bit different in the meantime, so it doesn't reflect the length of the tracks very accurately. So we would adjust for some errors over here. Then travel distance, obviously, this also isn't completely accurate. I mean, it doesn't have to be completely proportional. Maybe some people just stay in the suburbs or work closer where they actually live. So there's an error factor over here, which I calculated. Then the train size, same thing. And obviously, I don't know exactly what fraction of the trains are actually underground and which are overground. So I took some error here. And my total estimate then for the 90% confidence interval was that it's somewhere between 200 and 800 kilometers, which in this case was correct, because obviously I have to be 90% certain that this is correct. So if I had actually gotten this wrong, then they would have estimated that I'm not very good at intuitively understanding these numbers, and therefore they probably wouldn't have been happy. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to make your own calculation, you can still go back to my video. As you probably remember and have seen in the video, after when I reach 100,000 views in total on this video, I'm going to pick one comment that I like the most about making your estimate, because everybody can make this estimate on their own way. I mean, I made the estimate from Zagreb, which is where I grew up, but you may have grown up somewhere else. You maybe have some other idea how to make this estimate. So please leave a comment down there, and as soon as I have 100,000 views on this video, I'm going to pick a winner and send them a $50 Amazon gift card, or if they don't have Amazon in their country, then I'm going to find something equivalent to a $50 gift card. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.